Hello, and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Katrina Adkins with SHI. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Ravneet Chadha, Chief Data Officer at University of Arizona. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Good morning, Katrina. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Electrical engineering. So how did you get from electrical engineering into what you're doing now?
I would say when you're looking for a job, you will do anything. I mean, to be very honest, that initially, when I graduated, I was like, I want to go do this, I want to go do this. But when you graduate in a recession, it's not that easy to find a job. But you always keep your options open. I had already read somewhere that 75% of the engineers, I might be off on numbers here and there, a few percentage points, but let's say 70 to 80% of the engineers don't actually end up doing engineering stuff 5 years from their graduation. So I just didn't have those 5 years. I started right off the bat in a different field. But I would say it definitely helps me till this date. Even when I went back to school, I still wanted to do grad school in engineering field because I felt that engineering prepped me a lot better in the work that I do today because it's all about efficiencies. You try to find that particular piece. It tells you the practical use of information and data and all of those things. So I think that's the part that maybe that's half glass full person in me that kind of just tries what I learned from it. But to be very honest, that whether it was engineering or something else, I'm one of those people like, you got to learn. You got to learn at the job. You got to learn with the actual industry experience. And that's what I've been able to do. Just keeping my options open and learning from there.
Love that. It sounds like you just continually learn and want to feed yourself information. Are there any resources that are some of your favorites, some books, anything that you tend to gravitate towards?
I would say, and this kind of became more important to me in 2020 and 2021, was I actually listened to a lot of TED Talks and a lot of interviews by leaders in different areas across the world. It doesn't have to be on the data part. There are things that people would say, and I will carry it with me for years. I will try to bring that piece into my daily life and basically try to, if I hear anything that I feel could make me a better professional, but also a better person in general, I will keep that with me and try to establish that with my day-to-day routine as well. So I listen to a lot of those, interviews, videos. I have probably listened to quite a few of these CDO magazine interviews to kind of just learn from other people's journeys, because I think that is a critical part as well. People share, where they have come from. It definitely builds because a lot of people can have similar struggles. So if you can learn from somebody else's, if that saves you a day of struggle or 2 days of struggle or a month or a year of struggle, that is absolutely worth investing the time into. So I would say I do that. From a reading perspective, again, for me, it's a lot more about the work part reading. I'm into, articles that are coming out about the industry that I'm in or financial industry. If there's pieces that I could learn from that standpoint, I would definitely do that. Being in higher ed, chronicle of higher ed, that becomes part of your habit of just keeping up with anything and everything that's happening in higher ed. So I would do that part. But one part of me is always kind of seeing what's happening in the corporate world as well, just because they're so different than higher ed, that I feel like it can definitely, you can bring in some of the ideas and success stories from corporate into higher ed as well.
Thank you so much. So interesting. I see that you conduct specialized student and faculty studies. Can you tell me a little bit more about this and how the studies impact the university?
Absolutely. So this is, again, we have a pretty decent sized team, but what we were missing till 2020, late 2019, was a data science role, a data science team within our bigger analytics team, right? So that was something that when I got this role, and even before I got this role, I had my wheels turning that we need to establish a function that would come out with these analysis, these research questions, these studies that would help us be a better organization overall and take care of some of the things proactively and not necessarily wait till, oh, something happened, let's look at why it happened, right? So to start off, I'll give a few examples here. Faculty pay study is something that is very near and dear to me. Faculty information has been something that, I've always been interested in because I feel like they are the lifeline of the university from a teaching perspective. They are the ones who are educating all the students coming in. So whatever support we can provide them is, as administrators, it's our responsibility, and we have to do our due diligence to make sure we support that. So pay equity, I would say, is something that is a big topical conversation across any organization, public or private, small or big. Everyone wants this, a certain standard of equity to be established at their organization. So we have to do that part. We did the first pay equity, I would say, spring of 2020, right before COVID, and then went into lockdown. That was around 1,500 faculty members. And then this year itself, we did another, that was another 1,000 individuals. So a decent size pay equity study. So we do that part. We do a lot of work around student retention and graduation modeling. So basically making sure, yes, getting students here is absolutely critical. But I think what is even more critical is making sure that they attend school and graduate, and to make sure, they are on and off with their successful careers going past college life. So from that perspective, we go through different models and build out what are some of the things that might help them to be successful while they are here. And if there are struggles, which, like I mentioned with me, figuring out the work part with the education side of it, and the fun part, you got to find the balance and then see what we can do to support those students. The other example I would give is, I would say higher ed generally doesn't come off as a competitive area as much, or there's not much competition between universities. But one thing that stands out is the university rankings. So I know that is a big piece. So we have a model that we established that helps us, if you change this metric or you move around this lever a little bit, this is how your rankings can affect. This data point or this initiative can have a positive or a negative impact on your university's rankings, right? So work on that front. And in the end, even though we are here to educate students and, in the educational realm, making sure that we pass on the knowledge to all our students from our faculty members, but in the end, we still have to make the money. So there is a revenue side to it. So we do net tuition revenue modeling. So in that particular case, we are able to look at student admissions, enrollment, retention, graduation, and then financial aid to help predict where we would be when it comes down to the net tuition revenue. And I would say with the pandemic, there was a lot of uncertainties all around, and higher ed was no different from that standpoint. So, we were really not sure about what our enrollment would look like and what the downstream effects would be. So we were able to build models that you could actually, try out different variations and combinations to see if this happened, you would be at this point. If this happened, you would be at this point. So, these are some of the projects that we've done from a student and faculty studies standpoint that you can establish and help people be aware or stay appraised of the fact that, hey, these things do have impact on the final results of what your initiative might look like.
I have to say, I feel like your colleagues, your peers are extremely lucky to have you there at the University of Arizona, extremely lucky to be working with you. So I just really enjoyed getting to know you. So thank you, Ravneet, for joining me today. And for those of you who are out here listening, please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Katrina. It's been a pleasure.